For over 2 million years, the human mind was shaped, not by comfort, but by danger. Every instinct, every emotional reflex, every silent judgment was carved into our very neurology under the immense pressure of hunger, of predators, and the ever-present risk of extinction. Our modern world feels so distant from that time, and yet the machinery inside the skull has barely changed at all.
So that sudden jolt of anxiety, that powerful pull towards conformity, these are not glitches in a modern brain. No, they are echoes, whispers from a time when those exact instincts meant the difference between life and death. They are adaptations that carried our ancestors through millennia of hardship.
You have to imagine a world where nearly every decision was a matter of life or death. That was the crucible in which our core behaviors were forged. For these small bands of hunter-gatherers, survival was a constant, immediate concern. There simply was no time for long-term planning, no room for philosophical debate. This is the very bedrock of our minds today.
The heart begins to accelerate, the muscles tighten, and our attention narrows to a pinpoint. This reaction was never designed for calm, detached reasoning. It was designed for one thing and one thing only: speed.
The reason for this split-second reaction lies deep within our brains, in a structure known as the amygdala. You see, this system evolved because, in a world filled with predators and sudden dangers, hesitation meant death. It's our primal alarm system, sounding the alert long before our conscious mind even has a chance to catch up.
The brain learned to imagine danger even when none was visible. And that very same system now reacts to social rejection, to failure, or to unfamiliar change with the same urgency once reserved for a predator moving through the tall grass. We all crave connection with an almost desperate intensity, sometimes even against our own better judgment. But this isn't some modern quirk of our emotional landscape. It is a survival instinct, hardwired directly into our DNA.
Think about it. Without a group, there was no shared vigilance, no collective defense, no access to food or care. Survival absolutely depended on acceptance. This pressure shaped a nervous system that constantly monitors social signals, responding to the threat of separation as if it were still a matter of life and death.
When we think of aggression, we often see it as a purely destructive force. But in the ancient world, it was an essential tool for survival. It didn't arise from a place of malice, but from a world where resources were scarce and competition was a constant, unavoidable reality.
Territory mattered, mates mattered, and those who could defend their access to both survived longer and passed on their genes. The modern world may try to suppress this kind of raw violence, but it can't erase the circuits that evolved to protect one's position and opportunity.
The brain learned to track hierarchy automatically. Comparison became a constant, subconscious process. Today, this ancient sensitivity manifests as envy, as ambition, and as the restless measurement of self against others, even when our survival no longer depends on our rank.
The mind remembers danger far more clearly than it remembers safety. It recalls loss much more sharply than it recalls gain. But this imbalance, this isn't a flaw. It is a finely tuned survival strategy.
It's really that simple. Those who remembered threats avoided them. Those who forgot, well, they didn't live long enough to forget again. The modern consequence of this is a mind that can fixate on negative outcomes, that replays failure, and that scans for risk even in the most stable environments.
So, our brains are wired to remember threats. But how did our ancestors pass on that hard-won knowledge? They told stories. In a world without writing, stories were the only way to preserve vital information about predators, about changing seasons, and about the complex rules of social life. Narrative became the primary technology for transmitting critical information. Stories bound groups together, they carried warnings forward, and they shaped behavior long before history was ever recorded.
And this brings us to the heart of the matter, the central conflict that drives so much of our modern struggle. We are, in essence, running ancient hardware on a modern operating system, and the two are often wildly incompatible.
A brain that was built for a world of scarcity now lives in a world of abundance. A nervous system that was tuned for immediate physical danger now faces abstract anxieties. Instincts that once ensured our survival now generate stress and emotional strain.
They are proof of a blueprint that successfully navigated a hostile world for millions of years. In a way, our modern struggles are a testament to just how profoundly effective that ancient programming once was.
Every reaction is a fragment of deep time, preserved in neural tissue, still responding to a world that no longer exists.